This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, we begin with the intensifying maritime crackdown. Tehran is showing heightened military caution but refuses to yield on uranium enrichment. Both Iran and the U.S. signal openness to diplomacy after recent indirect talks in Oman. While diplomats debate in Oman, U.S. forces are taking direct action on the high seas. U.S. forces have intercepted a suspected Russian Shadow Fleet tanker in the Indian Ocean. The Aquila 2 was seized off Oman as part of a campaign to disrupt prohibited cargo and enforce global sanctions. In Japan, a newly elected leader is wasting no time in pursuing a bold new vision for the country. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi vows bold policy changes after her election victory. She pledged to strengthen international alliances amid divided public opinion on culture and immigration. Meanwhile, the streets of Hong Kong are filled with a defiance after a massive sentence for a media tycoon. Clashes broke out outside the Hong Kong courthouse as protesters condemned Jimmy Lai's 20-year prison term. Supporters demanded press freedom under the territory's strict national security laws. Back home, a major political hurdle has been cleared off for the chief executive. The House Committee on Justice has junked 2 impeachment cases against President Marcos Jr. Lawmakers approved the report, declaring the complaints insufficient in substance. In sports, a Filipina tennis sensation has reached a historic new milestone on the world stage. Alex Ayala cracked the world top 40 after a stellar Abu Dhabi Open showing. The 20-year-old also entered the top 100 in doubles. And finally, a moment of pride for this network as we are recognized for excellence in the field. SMNI News received the Excellence in Broadcast Journalism Award at the 3rd Philippines Distinct Men and Women of Excellence Awards. The recognition honors the network's contribution to media and journalistic standards. I'm Carlo de la Peña. Newsline World starts now. For the news, U.S. military forces have intercepted and detained the oil tanker Aquila 2 during a high-stakes operation in the Indian Ocean. The vessel, which is suspected of being part of Russia's Shadow Fleet, was seized off the coast of Oman as part of an intensifying global effort by the Trump administration to enforce sanctions and disrupt the transport of prohibited cargo. More on this from Jane Cognita.
Tensions on the high seas reached a breaking point this Monday as U.S. troops executed a tactical boarding of the oil tanker Aquila 2. Helicopter-borne forces were seen descending onto the deck of the vessel approximately 200 nautical miles off the coast of Oman. The tanker, which was traveling from the Persian Gulf toward East Asia, was targeted after intelligence indicated its cargo was in direct violation of international sanctions. The Pentagon confirmed the seizure, stating the operation was necessary to prevent the transport of prohibited oil. Security analysts suggest that Aquila 2 is linked to a growing network of aging vessels used by Moscow to circumvent energy restrictions. This marks the 3rd major maritime seizure in recent weeks, following similar U.S. operations against the tankers Veronica and Olina in the Caribbean. The seizure of the Aquila 2 signals a broader U.S. strategy to choke off revenue streams from sanctioned nations. While the crew remains in U.S. custody for questioning, the vessel is currently being escorted to an undisclosed location for further inspection. The move has already drawn sharp criticism from regional observers who warn that such interceptions in international waters could lead to a volatile confrontation in the Indian Ocean. This has been Jane Cognita, Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has declared that Mexico will not abandon its solidarity with Cuba despite aggressive new sanctions from the United States. During her Monday press conference, Sheinbaum labeled the Trump administration's threat to impose tariffs on oil supplying nations as very unfair, warning that the measures are strangling the Cuban people and crippling essential services like hospitals and schools. Joy Tabanao has the details.
President Claudia Sheinbaum took a firm stance against Washington's escalating pressure on the Caribbean island. At the National Palace, the Mexican leader describes the latest U.S. executive order, which threatens heavy tariffs on any country selling oil to Havana, as a cruel policy that targets civilians rather than political regimes. Sheinbaum emphasized that while diplomatic talks with the U.S. are ongoing to prevent economic retaliation against Mexico, her government remains committed to recovering oil shipments to ensure the Cuban people are not strangled.
Es muy injusto esta sanción que se está imponiendo a los países que vendemos petróleo a Cuba. Muy injusta, no está bien, porque no están bien las sanciones que afectan al pueblo. Puede uno estar de acuerdo o no con el régimen de gobierno de Cuba, pero no debe afectarse a los pueblos nunca.
Mexico's support has already moved beyond rhetoric. On February 8, the logistics support vessel Papalhuapan and Isla Holbox departed for Cuba, carrying over 800 tons of basic supplies. The cargo includes essential food items such as milk, tuna, beans, and rice to combat the severe shortages exacerbated by the energy crisis. Sheinbaum stressed that hospitals and schools are currently without fuel, creating a humanitarian emergency that the international community cannot ignore.
Estados Unidos publicó un decreto que dice que impondría aranceles a los países que envíen petróleo a Cuba. Nosotros estamos con todas las acciones diplomáticas para evitar que se impongan aranceles a México por enviar petróleo a Cuba. Y también haciendo un llamado internacional y a Estados Unidos, pues de que es muy injusto para el pueblo cubano estas sanciones. No se puede poner en una circunstancia como la que está el pueblo cubano, más allá de si se está de acuerdo o no con el gobierno de Cuba. No está bien, no tienen combustible para los hospitales, para las escuelas, entonces sufre el pueblo.
Mexico's latest aid shipment includes 814 tons of basic supplies, including liquid milk, meat products, beans, rice, canned tuna, sardines, vegetable oil, as well as personal hygiene items. The tension stems from a January decree by President Trump establishing a pay-to-play sanction system against Cuba's energy partners. As Mexico reviews its diplomatic options, Sheinbaum also addressed reports of U.S. military-grade weapons entering Mexico, suggesting that the dialogue between the two neighbors remain fraught with complex security and economic challenges. For now, Mexico City is choosing fraternity over fear of tariffs. Joy Tabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Iran is refusing to abandon uranium enrichment while ramping up military caution, even as Tehran and Washington both signal that they remain open to diplomacy following another round of indirect talks. Tehran's position comes after negotiations mediated by Oman ended without a breakthrough, with tensions still high across the region. Iran's atomic energy chief Mohammad Islami said Tehran may consider diluting its 60% enriched uranium, but only if all international sanctions are lifted first. He also ruled out sending enriched materials abroad, rejecting earlier proposals floated in past negotiations. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and Foreign Minister Sayed Abbas Araghchi echoed that stance, describing the Muscat talks as a good start, but insisting diplomacy must be based on what they called mutual respect, not pressure. Meanwhile, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei urged national unity ahead of the anniversary of Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution, calling on Iranians to disappoint the enemy amid rising friction with Washington. At the same time, Iran is also signaling a tougher military posture. State media reports the defense ministry has halted public displays of new weapon system, citing security concerns and the need to preserve strategic surprise. Diplomatic activity continues behind the scenes, with senior official Ali Larijani heading to Oman for follow-up discussions. But pressure is also mounting from U.S. allies. U.S. and Israeli positions remain firm. Israeli reports say Washington is seeking serious concessions from Tehran in the next round of talks. Israeli officials have also warned they could strike Iran unilaterally if Tehran crosses red lines on its missile program. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is scheduled to meet U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington, where Iran's nuclear activities are expected to top the agenda. In the U.S., protesters rallied outside Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara, highlighting opposition to ICE and federal immigration policies. Almar Forzuelo for the details.
Hundreds of demonstrators rallied outside Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California on Sunday as Super Bowl 60 got underway, using the high-profile sporting event to protest U.S. immigration and customs enforcement or ICE and the federal government's immigration policies. Protesters marched near the stadium entrance, chanting slogans such as ICE out and carrying signs denouncing President Donald Trump and ICE's enforcement actions. A group of activists from organization Contra ICE handed out ICE out rally towels to fans arriving for the game, urging them to raise the towels throughout the match as a symbolic show of opposition. Among those showing support was U.S. Representative Ro Khanna, who stood with demonstrators and called for an end to what he described as aggressive immigration enforcement. The protests come amid broader concerns about the role of federal immigration enforcement at major events, despite assurances from NFL and local authorities that no ICE enforcement operations were planned at the Super Bowl. While the demonstrations remained largely peaceful, activists used the spotlight of the annual football spectacle to amplify their message and draw national attention to ongoing debates over immigration policy. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
Operations at Jose Marti International Airport in Havana are hanging by a thread following a dire warning from the Cuban government that jet fuel reserves could run out as early as this week. Despite a notice of air missions alerting carriers of a nationwide shortage lasting until March, the Cuban Air Navigation Company insists services remains open, even as major airlines like Air Canada begin evacuating thousands of stranded tourists. Joy Tabanao reports.
Terminal 3 at Jose Marti International Airport remains a scene of high anxiety. On Monday, passengers continued to check in and aircraft were seen on the runway. But the stability of these flights is now in question. The Cuban government issued an emergency NOTAM, or Notice to Air Missions, warning international airlines that the island expects to exhaust its fuel supplies due to the tightening U.S. oil embargo.
Las cubanas y los cubanos no odiamos al pueblo norteamericano, reconocemos valores del pueblo norteamericano, valores de su historia, valores de su cultura. Cuando hemos tenido oportunidad de que existan espacios de encuentro entre nuestros pueblos en diferentes sectores, en el sector científico, en el sector deportivo, en el sector religioso, en el sector cultural, en el sector de la salud, incluso diálogo a nivel político, hemos encontrado que hay muchas cosas en las que podemos trabajar juntos, sin prejuicio, que pueden aportarle muchísimo. O visto de otra manera, de cuántas cosas privamos a ambos pueblos por esa política decadente, por esa política prepotente, por esa política criminal de bloqueo y la persistencia en ese bloqueo, al punto de haberlos recrudecido en los momentos actuales, y lo siguen recrudeciendo, siguen apretando las tuercas de ese bloqueo. Y la agenda podría ser sobre todos estos temas que hemos... Entonces, Cuba no es un país terrorista. Cuba tampoco es una amenaza para la seguridad de los Estados Unidos.
The impact on the international travel has been immediate. Air Canada has already suspended all incoming flights to Cuba as of February 8. The airline is now operating ferry flights, sending empty planes to the island solely to retrieve approximately 3,000 customers currently stranded in the country. Other carriers are reportedly evaluating similar measures as the shortage is expected to persist until at least March 11. President Miguel Diaz-Canel has blamed the crisis squarely on the Trump administration's threat of tariffs against any country that supplies oil to the island, while the Cuban air navigation company claims it will operate 24/7 to ensure flight safety. Aviation experts warn that without a fresh supply of fuel, the island's connection to the outside world could be completely severed within days. As travelers rush to find ways out of Havana, the empty departure boards at Terminal 3 serve as a grim indicator of deepening isolation facing the Caribbean nation under the absolute resolve policy of the United States. Joy Tabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Up next, elected leader Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi vows bold policy changes after her election victory. She pledged to strengthen international alliances amid divided public opinion on culture and immigration. And clashes broke out outside a Hong Kong courthouse as protesters condemned Jimmy Lai's 20-year prison term. Supporters demanded press freedom under the territory's strict national security laws. More news when Newsline World returns.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito. Pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulong at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, sa kapalalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling. Gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod, pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakaka-depress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman diyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
Ikaw ba ay namomroblema sa taas ng electric bill buwan-buwan? Huwag mag-alala, narito ang ilang paraan upang makatipid sa kuryente. Patayin ang mga ilaw at appliances kapag hindi ginagamit. Sa halip ay gumamit ng natural na liwanag upang makatipid sa kuryente. Tanggalin sa saksakan ang mga appliances kung hindi ginagamit. Iwasan ang paggamit ng maraming appliances ng sabay-sabay. Gumamit ng LED bulbs. Ito ay mas tipid sa kuryente kumpara sa mga incandescent at fluorescent bulbs. Regular na linisin ang mga appliances tulad ng electric fan, aircon vents at refrigerator. Magkaroon ng takdang araw sa isang linggo sa pamamalansya at paglalaba. Gumamit ng energy-efficient appliances. Tandaan, maging wais sa paggamit ng kuryente upang makatipid para mas gumaan ang buhay. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Pasasaan pa ang kalayaan kung ang mga alipin ngayon ay sila din naman mang-aalipin bukas.
Ibigin mo ang iyong bayan ng sunod kay Bathala, sa iyong kapurihan at higit sa lahat sa iyong sarili.
Hindi natin mapapalaya ang ating mga sarili maliban kung sumulong tayo na nagkakaisa sa iisang hangarin.
Ang tunay na makabayan ay ang tumutupad ng pagpapabuti ng kanyang mga kapwa, gaano man kaaba ang kanyang katungkulan. Naway magsilbing paalala ang kanilang mga salita upang lalo nating mahalin at tapat na paglingkuran ang minamahal nating inang bayan.
Tensions erupted outside a courthouse as supporters of media tycoon Jimmy Lai protested his 20-year prison sentence under national security laws, clashing with police and demanding press freedom. Kai Villan will give us an update.
Supporters of Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai gathered outside the courthouse after he was sentenced to 20 years behind bars under national security law. Lai was convicted in December last year and was recently given a lengthy sentence for colluding with foreign forces under Hong Kong's national security law. Tensions run high as some supporters argued with police while some activists was invisibly emotional. The crowd included politicians, activists, and international observers, highlighting the global attention on the case. Despite the unrest outside, authorities defended the sentencing as appropriate and necessary.
The National Security Department of the Hong Kong Police Force welcomed the court's imposition of a hefty sentences of 20 years imprisonment on Jimmy Lai, demonstrating the court's determination that his offense will of a very serious in nature.
Supporters of former Stand News chief editor Chung Pui-Kuen, also convicted, continued to voice their dissent outside the court. Police maintained order amid the protests, while diplomats and legal representatives observed proceedings.
I think that the sentences awarded to the defendants I think it's appropriate at this level from my point of view. But I have to discuss with my colleagues in the Department of Justice to say whether we needed to appeal for the sentences.
The protests underscored the deep divide in public opinion over Hong Kong's national security framework and collusion with foreign forces. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SMNI News.
The House Committee on Justice approved a committee report junking 2 impeachment cases against President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. for insufficiency of substance. MJ Mondejar reports.
Ang mga ito ay merits determination, hindi Section 5
Madam Chair, point of order.
I still have the floor.
No, point of order precedes all motions or discussion. Point of order.
Tensions nearly flared between Cagayan de Oro Representative Rufus Rodriguez and Caloocan City Representative Edgar Rice during the voting at the House Committee on Justice on Monday, February 9. Rodriguez wanted Rice to clearly state why he was opposing the dismissal of the 2 impeachment cases against President Bongbong Marcos.
May we know? We cannot have here a peroration of what is his stand on the substance of the complaint.
Masyado po nagmamadali si...
No, I'm not.
Darating po sa punto na yun.
We have to go directly.
Despite the heated exchange, Marcos' allies in the House prevailed. 39 members of the Justice Panel voted to approve the committee report, dismissing the complaints against the President for insufficiency of substance. As a result, the committee report will now be elevated to the plenary for debate. 1/3 of the more than 300 members of Congress, or at least 106 votes, is required for the dismissal of the impeachment to be approved in the House plenary.
Ito po ay aming ifo-forward na sa plenaryo and we will be waiting as to when the same will be included in the order of business upang mapagtalakayan naman po doon sa plenaryo.
Due to the effect of the one-year bar rule, the president can no longer be charged again until next year. Political analysts insist that Marcos is effectively insulated for 1 year from attempts to remove him from office through impeachment proceedings. When will be the one-year bar rule lapse?
Maglalaps ito January 26 of 2027, which means January 27 of 2027, wala nang existing na 1-year prohibition period.
Meanwhile, veteran lawyer Raul Lambino said the House dismissal of the 2 impeachment cases against the president may be elevated to the Supreme Court. Lambino also acknowledged that impeachment proceedings in the Philippines are political in nature.
Tignan natin yan. Maaring sabihin natin na there is a grave abuse of discretion on the part of the House of Representatives. Pero pwede rin sabihin nila that this is purely a political issue, a political question which is beyond the province or jurisdiction of.
And with Marcos critics failing in their impeachment bid, questioning the actions of the House remains their only option for now.
My objection to the report is on the issue of the Bernardo allegations that the president accepted or there were 8 billion pesos for the president. It's a direct allegation, and I think it should be discussed in the committee.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondeja, SMNA News.
Tension within the Bangsamoro Transition Authority or BTA has reached the Supreme Court. The League of Bangsamoro Organization is now questioning Malacanang's appointment of 7 BTA members, alleging the process bypassed legal requirements. Kai Villan is back for more news.
Even before this latest petition, Malacanang had already maintained that the current composition of the BTA remains the region's legitimate government. According to the palace, these members will remain in their posts by operation of law until the BARM elections are held later this year. Consequently, the administration argues that formal reappointments are no longer necessary. However, on February 9, the League of Bangsamoro Organizations or LBO formally filed a petition with the Supreme Court questioning the constitutionality of the appointments of 6 BTA members and even the interim chief minister himself. According to the petitioners, several appointed members did not undergo the required screening or receive the recommendation of the MILF Central Committee. The group asserts that this violates previous peace agreements, claiming that none of these officials were included in the official list recommended by the MILF leadership. Under Article 16, Section 2 of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, the MILF is designated to lead the transition authority. However, the group laments that their representation within the parliament has been significantly diminished.
Mathematically, numerically, on the basis of parliamentarism, dapat 41. Para mag-excel talaga, para maging prevailing talaga yung kanilang mga measures. Ngayon, kadamihan sa kanilang mga measures ay hindi na nanalo. Talo sila sa restricting, talo sila sa budgeting. Parang 34 na lang yung na-appoint sa kanila. So talagang talo sila sa numbers.
The petitioner further claimed that by replacing 7 of the original endorsements from the MILF Central Committee, the national government has essentially interfered with the Bangsamoro's internal processes.
We just want the court to declare the replacement of the seven endorsements of the MILF Central Committee unconstitutional because that is actually interfering with the internals of the regional government.
The petition seeks a court order compelling the president to appoint the original members endorsed by the MILF, a move they argue is vital to ensuring the integrity of the transition period. The group further emphasized that it was only under the administration of former President Rodrigo Duterte that they found clarity following the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro and the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SMNA News.
Despite warnings from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas about the possible re-inclusion of the Philippines in the gray list of the Financial Action Task Force, Malacanang emphasized that the government's measure against money laundering are sufficient and that it is too early to say that the country's credibility with the international watchdog is at risk. Creselyn Catarong has the news.
Malacanang assured that the government continues to take steps to keep the country free from money laundering and corruption. The statement comes after Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas warned of the risk of the Philippines being placed again on the Financial Action Task Force or FATF gray list, which monitors countries with weaknesses in anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing systems. At a palace briefing, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro said the Philippines is currently off the FATF gray list and that investigations and accountability measures against those involved in corruption cases are ongoing.
Alam po natin, nakatanggal na po tayo sa gray list ng FATF at kaya po nagpaimbestiga ang Pangulo at tuloy-tuloy pa rin po ang pagpapanagot sa mga sangkot upang maging malinis po ang ating bansa sa issue ng korupsyon.
On the possibility of new legislation to strengthen the fight against money laundering, Castro said it is up to Congress to act.
Kung may legislation na dapat po, ito po ay trabaho na po ng ating mga mababatas. Kung mayroon pa po sila nakikitang mga kakulangan, sila na po ang maaaring bumalangkas ng anumang bagong batas patungkol po dito.
She also emphasized the importance of asset freezing in addressing corruption, as well as the role of the Anti-Money Laundering Council or AMLAC.
Pati po yung AMLAC, dahil meron pong karapatan ng AMLAC na magsagawa, motu proprio ng pag-iimbestiga upang kung may nakitaan sila na dapat na ma-freeze ang asset ng sino maaaring sangkot, ay magampanan agad nila ito at makapag-file agad ng petition sa Court of Appeals.
Castro stressed that it is too early to say the Philippines' FATF standing has weakened, noting that accountability processes have just begun and some cases have already been filed against those involved.
Sa ngayon, masyado pang maaga na pag-usapan kung may failure to make these culprits liable for their acts. Unang-una po, nagsisimula pa lang po tayo. Meron na po mga nakakasuhan at sinabi rin po ng Ombudsman at ng DOJ ay patuloy pa rin po ang pag-iimbestiga.
The Philippines was officially removed from the FATF gray list in February 2025. The gray list is a roster of countries under close monitoring due to weaknesses in their anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing systems. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Creselyn Catarong, SMNI News.
In response to rapid changes in the industry, the Department of Science and Technology is promoting the wider use of robotics and artificial intelligence to strengthen business capabilities, especially among micro, small, and medium enterprises. Angel Pastor reports.
The Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, is encouraging the use of robotics and artificial intelligence, or AI, not only among large companies, but also among micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs. Dr. Albert Causo of the DOST Balik Scientist Program believes robots and AI should not be feared because these technologies were created to assist workers, not to replace them. Causo explained that while some jobs may be lost due to automation, people themselves will not disappear from the workforce because companies often reassign employees to other tasks and provide them with new skills or training. He added that when robots are used in production, retraining and upskilling of employees are essential to prepare them for more advanced jobs. The DOST also said that MSMEs can benefit from automation. Causo noted that some food and delicacies producers are already using robots, particularly in packaging their products. Causo stressed the importance of identifying which parts of the production process can be automated, especially tasks that are repetitive, hazardous, and dirty. The DOST assured that it is ready to help small companies implement the use of robots and AI in their operations. For God of my beloved Philippines, Angel Pastor, SMNI News.
Fresh from election success, Japan's Sanae Takaichi vows to push bold policy changes and strengthen alliances at home and abroad, while public reactions remain mixed, with opinions divided on leadership, culture, and immigration. Valdivina Gracia has more.
Japan's Prime Minister Sanai Takeichi is pledged to advance her administration's key policy agenda following a strong showing in the recently concluded general election.
今回の解散総選挙は高市内閣が掲げる責任ある積極財政、安全保障政策の抜本的強化、政府のインテリジェンス機能の強化といった重要な政策転換を自民党と日本維新の会との連立政権で進めてよいのかどうか、そのことをこれから始まる長い国会で本格的にご審議いただく前に国民の皆様に問う選挙でもありました。
Takeichi emphasized that her government will act swiftly, convening a special session of the Diet to approve next year's budget and related legislation without delay.
勝利の余韻に浸っている余裕は私たちにはございません。速やかに特別国会を召集させていただき、まずは来年度予算や予算関連法案を一日でも早く成立させていく。
The Prime Minister also outlined plans to strengthen international partnerships, including a potential visit to the United States to meet with President Trump and deepen cooperation with allies across Asia, Europe, and the Global South. However, public reaction in Japan remains sharply divided, with residents expressing mixed views on leadership, immigration, and cultural identity. Some question the administration's mandate, while others welcomed a firmer stance on preserving Japanese culture.
彼女のキャパシティがこのぐらいすると、キャパシティ以上に見せてるから、昨日行われた選挙でもそういうことがなんて言うんだろうな、実態を把握しない人が彼女をサポートして投票して選ばれたっていうか、結局日本は直接選挙じゃないから自民党を選ぶでしょ、議員を選ぶでしょ。で彼女を選んだわけじゃないんだよね、国民はね。だから彼女は背伸びしてるから、今2月の9日でしょ、今年まだ10ヶ月以上ありますよね。失敗すると思います、彼女は政策的に。
私日本の文化好きなんで、このまま、海外の文化いっぱい取り入れて日本の文化がなくなっていっちゃうっていうのはちょっと心配なんで、その参政権、ありな考え方なんじゃないかなって思います。
Generational perspectives were also cited and concerns were raised about over-concentration of political power.
もう私たちは年なので、今回は多分若い人の意見が反映されてると思うので、それに従いますよね。それが自分の思いです。
いや、怖いなと思ってます。一極集中っていうのは、やっぱり強いのは結構だけど、強すぎは排他的になるのはすごく危険だと思ってます。
Others remain undecided or disengaged, focusing instead on results.
簡単に言うと賛成と反対半分半分ぐらいかなとは僕は思うんですけど、そうですね、あんまり政治に関してあんまり僕は正直言うとあんまり興味がないので、より良い日本を作ってもらえればそれでいいかなとは僕は思いますね。
Foreign residents also weighed in, expressing both hope and caution.
I hope they kind of lower the taxes. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I think she has more power compared to the other Ishiba. So yeah, I hope it goes well.
However, I'm an immigrant myself in Japan, so I will always be biased to being stricter against foreigners. However, no, I'm not surprised that maybe there's some more tension recently. I think as my job as a foreigner in Japan is to work hard and to contribute to Japan and also act as a guest.
As Japan moves forward under the new administration, public opinion remains split, reflecting broader debates over governance, identity, and the country's changing social landscape. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Valdivina Grasham, SMNA News.
When we return, Filipina tennis sensation Alex Ayala cracked the world top 40 after a stellar Abu Dhabi Open showing. The 20-year-old also entered the top 100 in doubles. And SMNI News receives the Excellence in Broadcast Journalism Award at the 3rd Philippines Distinct Men and Women of Excellence Awards. The recognition honors the network's contribution to media and journalistic standards. Stay tuned for more news.
Pasasaan pa ang kalayaan kung ang mga alipin ngayon ay sila din naman mang-aalipin bukas.
Ibigin mo ang iyong bayan ng sunod kay Bathala, sa iyong kapurihan at higit sa lahat sa iyong sarili.
Hindi natin mapapalaya ang ating mga sarili maliban kung sumulong tayo na nagkakaisa sa iisang hangarin.
Ang tunay na makabayan ay ang tumutupad ng pagpapabuti ng kanyang mga kapwa, gaano man kaaba ang kanyang katungkulan. Naway magsilbing paalala ang kanilang mga salita upang lalo nating mahalin at tapat na paglingkuran ang minamahal nating inang bayan.
Hoy, magnanakaw! Tingin! Pulis ka! Hala, magnanakaw!
Magnanakaw! Magnanakaw!
Hoy, magnanakaw!
Magnanakaw! Magnanakaw!
Ano kayang gagawin ko? Ipamimigay ko yung konti para tumigil sila sa pag-iingay.
Pare, magnanakaw, namimigay ng pera.
Ito ang sayo.
Wow! Ang bait ng magnanakaw!
Ito naman sayo.
Kuya, yung
eto
share ko! Sana
Huwag ka nang maingay. Eto pa. Tama na yan. Nakikipalato lang kayo eh. Huwag nang maingay. Diba? Konti lang pinamigay ko, mabait na ako. Tahimik na sila. Easy. Ngayon, pwede ko na tong suluhin.
Masaya ang mga tao, pero tama po ba ito? Di po ba ang nakikinabang sa magnanakaw ay kasabwat ng magnanakaw?
Ikaw, kinukonsenti mo ba ang legal na korupsyon?
In latest sports update, Filipino tennis standout Alex Ayala has reached a new career high in the WTA rankings, moving into the World Top 40 after her strong showing in the Abu Dhabi Open. Meanwhile, Boston Celtics star Jason Tatum has reached a key milestone in his recovery after being cleared to take part in practice following his Achilles injury. More details in this report.
In the latest WTA rankings released Monday, Ayala climbed 5 places to world number 40 from number 45, bringing her total to 1,244 ranking points. The rise was driven by her performance in WTA 500 Abu Dhabi Open, where she advanced to the quarterfinals in singles and the semifinals in doubles alongside Indonesia's Janice Jen. The 20-year-old Filipina has been busy to start a 2026 season, competing in 4 WTA events. She made a semi-final run at the ASB Classic in Auckland before an early exit in the Australian Open. Those results lifted her into the top 50 with a quarterfinal finish at the Philippine Women's Open, further boosting her back to number 45. Ayala is set for a challenging Middle East swing with appearances lined up at the WTA 1000 Qatar Open in Doha and the Dubai Open from February 15 to 21. The Dubai tournament features a star-studded field led by world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka, world number 2 Iga Swiatek, defending champion Mira Andreeva, and Australian Open winner Elena Rybakina. In doubles action, Iala also notched a new personal best, jumping 37 spots to world number 99. Meanwhile, Boston Celtics star Jason Tatum has reached a key milestone in his recovery after being cleared to take part in practice activities following his Achilles injury. The Celtics announced Monday that Tatum joined portions of practice with their G League affiliate, the Maine Celtics, in Boston before being immediately recalled to continue rehabilitation with the main team. No timetable has been set for his return to game action. Tatum has been sidelined since tearing his Achilles tendon during last May's Eastern Conference semifinals against the New York Knicks. Before the injury, he was a 6-time All-Star and a regular contender in MVP voting, averaging 26.8 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 6.0 assists in the 2024-2025 season. Despite his absence, Boston has remained competitive behind Jaylen Brown's career year, posting a 32-19 record and sitting tied for second in the East. Tatum has said he's cautious about returning late in the season and disrupting team chemistry, though Celtics president of basketball operations, Brad Stevens, remained confident in the team's ability to reintegrate him when ready.
Miss Universe Philippines Benguet 2026 title holder Cristeta Langi has relinquished her crown, withdrawing from this year's national pageant. Meanwhile, Bad Bunny earns praise for his Super Bowl halftime show. Blake Han has all the buzz.
Cristeta Langi has relinquished his Miss Universe Philippines Benguet 2026 crown. In a statement posted on Instagram on Sunday, February 8, Langi announced that she will no longer compete in this year's Miss Universe Philippines pageant. The beauty queen described her journey with the organization as bittersweet, expressing gratitude for the opportunities, growth, and support she received during her time as title holder. While she did not disclose specific reasons for her decision, Langi emphasized that stepping down was a personal choice and wished the organization and future candidates continued success. Her announcement has since drawn messages of support from fans and fellow beauty queens, commending her courage and honesty. No replacement or further details have yet been announced by the Miss Universe Philippines organization. Puerto Rican rapper Bad Bunny delivered a performance widely applauded for promoting love, unity, and cultural pride. Fans and commentators say Bad Bunny's set carried added weight as the United States grapples with nationwide immigration raids, with many interpreting his performance as a statement of solidarity with immigrant communities. Bad Bunny closed his Super Bowl halftime show by naming Latin American countries with a huge billboard at the back displaying the message, and I quote, "The only thing that is more powerful than hate is love." Meanwhile, Turning Point USA held its own All-American Super Bowl halftime show with performances featuring Kid Rock. TPUSA's show is meant to counter Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show, saying it's all-American in contrast to Bad Bunny making history as the first ever Spanish-language artist to headline the Super Bowl halftime show. And that's all for now. I'm Blake Ann, bringing you the latest showbiz.
A Guinness World Record attempt was held at one of the largest water parks in the Philippines. Here's the exclusive report from NJ Mondihar.
If you think this video was taken in Hawaii, you are mistaken. This was only taken here in Binyan, Laguna in the Philippines. On February 1, a world record attempt for the largest hula dance presentation in the world was held at Splash Island Water Park.
It was in the year 2015 when the city of Miyakojima, Japan, had gotten the world record of the largest hula dance sanctioned by the Guinness World of Records. And back then, the number was 1,509 attendees. And in order to break that record, people in attendance here must be above that number.
Stay on the sunset side of slow, where the warm tide tells us where to go. Let the sky turn
1500s to 1800s, Filipinos arrived in Hawaii aboard ships that sailed between Manila and Mexico. Filipino sailors who first reached Hawaii were called Manila Men. The hula dance presentation is in time with the celebration of Binyan Day, which is why the open grounds of Splash Island were filled to capacity.
Of a leaning coconut tree.
Para po makakalabuhan ang ating mga kababayan. Para po sa ating katawan para lumakas po tayo. Exercise po!
Sa pagmalaking karangalan sa inyo na maging bahagi ng world record kung sakali.
Opo sir, sa karangalan, malaking karangalan. Para manisaya para makakasama sa Guinness Record ang ating mga.
Umabot siya ng 1,902. Kanina hindi ko na monitor, sumasayaw na ako dito. Umabot siguro 2,000 plus na. Palagay ko sa spirit na pinakita, sa Hawaiian spirit, kita natin talaga mukhang na-hit na natin.
The team of Torres and the Binyan LGU is now in the process of submitting evidence to Guinness. This includes witness statements, video files, photos, and participant count documents. The review process will take up to 12 weeks to determine whether the Philippines has reclaimed the world record from Japan.
Nakita nyo naman, meron tayong record, lahat yan naka-attendance. Okay? Meron tayong lawyer, meron tayong adjudicators na mapupunta rito. So, sama-sama tayo sa record. Record to ng Philippines. Hindi ito record yan ng Binyan.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondeja, SMNI News.
One flame.
SMNI News is once again recognized for its contribution to media, receiving the Excellence in Broadcast Journalism Award at the 3rd Philippines Distinct Men and Women of Excellence Awards in Pasay City. Daniela Paulite for the details.
A night honoring excellence and achievement marks the 3rd Philippines Distinct Men and Women of Excellence Awards. The event recognizes individuals and organizations whose work has made notable contributions and serve as sources of inspiration in their respective fields. The awards night was held on February 7 at Salapad's Hotel in Pasay City, brought together by representatives from various industries, including media, business, entertainment, and modeling. Among this year's awardee is SMNI News, named recipient of the Excellence in Broadcast Journalism Award. According to the award-giving body, the recognition was given in acknowledgement of SMNI News' continued efforts to deliver relevant and meaningful news to the public.
I always believe in SMNI. Whatever program you have, you all make sure that it would cater to all people from all walks of life, and they love the shows. That's why you truly deserve the award.
SMNI News is also recognized for its programs that focus on nation building, public service, and giving attention to issues that directly affect the lives of Filipinos.
Lubos po kami nagpapasalamat sa mga organizer sa pagkilalang ibinigay sa SMNI News bilang Excellence in Broadcast Journalism Award. Ang award po na ito na ibinigay sa amin ay para po sa aming mga manonood, taga-suporta at para po sa lahat na nasa likod ng SMNI News, ang aming reporters, crew at officers na araw-araw po nagsisikap para makapaghatid ng tapat at makabuluhang pagbabalita. Isang espesyal din po na pasasalamat sa aming Honorary Chairman, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy. Ang kanyang mga turo po tungkol sa Culture of Excellence ang bit-bit namin kahit saan man kami pumunta at nagsisilbing gabay po sa aming mga gawain araw-araw na hindi pwede ang pwede na. Lagi pong sinasabi ni Pastor na if it's not excellent, it's as if you have done nothing. Kaya naman ginagawa namin ang excellent na pagbabalita para sa Diyos, sa taong bayan, at para sa Pilipinas nating mahal. Maraming salamat po.
Aside from SMNI News, individuals from various industries are also recognized during the awards night for demonstrating excellence and dedication to their professions.
Sobrang nakakataba ng puso every time makaka-receive ako ng award sa kung saang-saang anggulo ng career ko. Lagi ang sasabihin nila, laos naman yan o kaya hindi naman yan sikat. Well, bahala na kayo, basta ako, lagi akong may award.
Ang dami mga negosyante na talagang mas successful pa sa akin. Pero ang gusto ko lang yung lagi tayong may puso. Tinitingnan natin ang ibang tao, hindi lang yung mga sarili natin. At kung ano man ang ma-achieve natin sa buhay, gusto kong masabi na I made a difference.
Never stop sharing your talent and of course, be a blessing to everybody. And of course, let's continue to make our tourism and our culture and arts grow. And of course, let's join hands because I cannot do this with myself alone.
Beyond the trophies and titles, the awards night serves as a reminder that true excellence is rooted in service. Each recognition stands as motivation to continue strengthening the mission of making a meaningful impact on the nation. For God and for my beloved country, the Philippines. Reporting for Newsline World, Daniela Paulite, SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Son. Every day may not be good, but there's something good in every day. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Carlo de la Peña. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.